Hi, thank you for joining us for our webinar today. I am Dina. I'm going to lead you through our new social listening tools in RevIQ. Also on the call is Maria. She is hidden, but she is there to support you. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to send them in and Maria will do her best to answer. I know we still have people trickling in, but I have a lot of information to get through in the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. You should be able to see my screen, and currently it's on a cross-channel overview and it features Kylie Cosmetics. So let's talk about the new features that RevIQ just launched around social listening. If you've been a long-time user of RevIQ, you know that we specialize in owned analytics. What we have done is, for years, is we've looked at what you and your competitors are putting out to the world on social media and how your fans react. Our parent company, NetBase Quid, they specialize in social listening. What they are doing is they are looking at what people out in the world on the social web are saying about brands unprompted, and they're analyzing the sentiment and what drives that sentiment so that you can make informed decisions. So with the help of NetBase Quid, we've been able to add social listening into RevIQ so that all of our customers can not only have the power of owned social media analytics, but they can also listen to consumers' perceptions about their brand that are made unprompted. So let me show you where those tools are located, and we'll go through all of the different features. So when you're in RevIQ, use the left-hand navigation and click on the Social Listening tab. Some of these you may recognize that we've always had: Twitter Mentions and Discover, along with Instagram and Discover. But you'll see two new sections for Instant Search and Saved Topics. The Instant Search is where I'm going to start today, because this is where you can just enter your brand name or really any topic to get quick insights on how people perceive your brand. Or you can use one of our recommendations to get started. These recommendations, they come from the company in your landscape. I happen to be in a beauty landscape, and Kylie Cosmetics is my focus company. So I'm going to click on that. And you may have seen very quickly what we did is we used AI to generate the appropriate key terms for that brand. And that's the query we use to populate these results. When you get to the results page, this may look very familiar as we used many of the elements that we use throughout RevIQ. Let me get you orientated with this page. At the very top, you'll see some navigation elements. You're able to refine your query by clicking edit, limit your sources, change your sentiment, or change your language. Then we provide you top level metrics, as we usually do with a quick at-a-glance panel. Just like with other places throughout our tool, you can scroll over these numbers to get the exact number and hover over the information bubble to get the exact definition. What we're showing you in these top level metrics is the volume of posts, the potential impressions, along with the unique authors that are writing about Kylie Cosmetics, and then finally the sentiment, along with that trend line for the sentiment. As you start to scroll down the page, we'll really get into details about all of those metrics. So we're going to start, of course, with post volume and sentiment trended, because really quickly you want to be able to identify any spikes and look for any changes in sentiment for your brand. You can see for Kylie Cosmetics, she was hovering at nearly 100% for quite some time. And then right around June 15th, June 16th was when there was a shift in sentiment. And so we'll dig into that shortly, but let me show you another panel before we go into that sentiment. I wanted to talk about the popular terms briefly. We've intentionally put this high on the page because when you scan through these popular terms, many of them should be familiar to you. These are the terms that people are using in posts that talk about your brand. So Kylie Cosmetics, of course, you're going to get things like lip, different makeup types, along with the Kardashian family. You can view more to see an even more rich set of terms. And if you find that the terms are not related to your brand, I recommend you refine your query by clicking that edit button. Of course, if you're not sure exactly what a term means, you can simply click on it to get the post details behind that term. So I'm going to move back to the main page, because I do want to talk a little bit more about this shift in sentiment. So you can see right here, you can easily view the content that was created on that day, but this is a mix of neutral, positive, and negative comments. So it might take you a little bit of time to try to decipher what caused that drop in sentiment. What you want to do is focus just on the negative comments that occurred at that time period. And you can do that very easily with our very next post, where we pull out the positive and the negative post and lay it out for you with the volume shown. So this looks like that spike in the red in the negative. And sure enough, folks, when I look at this, it is June 16th. So now when I view that content that's just the negative post, I can read the headlines and see why I had such a drop in sentiment for Kylie Cosmetics. If you are reading this on your screen, you can see there's a 6-figure lawsuit, a model claims not to be paid, the company is sued, $120,000. Okay, we get the picture of what happened and why there was a shift in sentiment toward the brand. You can also see that over in the right with our sentiment drivers panel. This particular panel was a crowd favorite when I did initial customer interviews about this product. What we've done is we've looked specifically at positive and negative mentions of your brand, and we've found the attribute that seems to be related to that positive or negative. You can see really quickly the $120,000 lawsuit and different variations of that, along with other things that may not be related to that model's claim. It's really tempting when you look at these sentiment drivers to just focus on the red. I do it myself, but I encourage you, especially if you're a social media manager, to look at the green just as hard. So you'll see here really big throwback. When I dug into this, it was from a campaign Kylie had done a while ago that people absolutely loved. So throwing out things that you know your customers love and you can figure out customers love using this panel is a great way to counteract some of that negative publicity. You can't see it as clearly now, but a couple days ago, these tinted bombs were huge. When I read the comments, people absolutely love the tinted bombs by Kylie Cosmetics. If you are trying to create content and you want it to be around something that you know you're going to get fan engagement with, pick something from here that they're already loving. There's a few more things that I want to show you about this panel, but I am going to switch over to another topic. Oops, sorry, I didn't quite have this set up. I'm switching over to Rare Beauty just because the sentiment panel on this particular topic really shows some of the ways that you can use this panel. So the attributes is what we just reviewed, but notice there's a drop down so that you can also look at behaviors and emotions. We're going to start with behaviors, and these are usually verbs that represent where a customer is in the buying cycle. You can see really quickly for Kylie Cosmetics, want and buy, but you will also get some of those negative terms like boycott. Depending on your product, you may also get things in here that indicate how people are utilizing or learning to use your product. But my favorite is the emotions. So this emotions panel, I have already started to see people share more than any other panel in here, because if it's positive, it really makes you see the best in your brand. This particular panel, I have found people love to click their particularly favorite word and pull out quotes that they can then utilize within their marketing activities. It's a great way to identify a really popular, a really positive post about your brand. So now I'm going to come back to the Kylie Cosmetics results page and keep scrolling down to see other insights. One of the questions I'm frequently asked is, where do you source this? And we have millions of domains that we are exploring. Everything from Twitter and news sites to smaller blogs, larger blogs, and forums. Those are all within here. You can see on the left in our sources panel where we group things by type. And then on the right, you can see those specific domains. Just like anywhere else through our product, if you want to see the specifics coming from Reddit, for example, you can quickly see all of those posts from Reddit along with the net sentiment from that specific domain. Just like in other locations, when you have a longer post where you're not able to see all of the details, you can simply click the link to view it in its original location. So one question that, or one thing that people have told me, especially in the beauty industry, is not all sources are equal. So while somebody may be speaking about a beauty brand often on Twitter, what I've heard is that it's not exactly their target audience. So if you want to remove Twitter or a specific source from your content, just simply remove it using that source filter. And what we're doing is we're reevaluating every single one of those panels without the Twitter comments being included within the analysis. So you can see for Kylie, unfortunately, that lawsuit is still being talked about. And now you can see that the most popular sources are news and YouTube. YouTube is what I would expect to see for a beauty brand. If I keep scrolling down, the next panel is authors. This is where we show you who's talking about you and what the domain is. These are ranked in order of volume. One way people use this is to be able to identify influencers. So since this is a beauty brand, let's pretend I'm looking for an influencer who is going to produce video content that will not only showcase my brand, but teach other users how to properly apply it. So you can see I just narrowed my source just to be on YouTube. And now when I look at this author panel, I'm seeing ranked by volume how often people are creating videos and mention my brand name. I can simply click on one of them and I quickly get an idea of not only the post volume, but the sentiment that that creator has toward my brand. I'm going to close this, and now I have 3 other panels that are quite similar but have a different focus. Hashtags, people mentioned, and brand mentioned. With these 3 panels, we are looking for words that surround your term that are most frequently mentioned in this post. So you can imagine doing a variety of things with these. So hashtags are very similar to our other hashtag strategies. Look for new hashtags that you're not utilizing. You may occasionally find hashtags that are made up around your brand that reveal a key insight. I'm going to flip to another topic just because I think it displays these types of things quite well. I'm switching over to a topic about Ben & Jerry's ice cream. And if I look at the people mentioned and brand mentions, some of these will make sense to you if you're aware of Ben & Jerry's vocalization of social issues. So Joe Biden, Elon Musk, and when I look at some of these brand mentions, Twitter, Fox News, Pride, those are all because of some of the actions that Ben & Jerry put out in the world. But then there's some other pieces in here that can be really interesting. So we see Ben Cohen, Jimmy Fallon. If I didn't already know that Jimmy Fallon had an ice cream flavor, I might recommend that Ben & Jerry's consider it. I also thought it was interesting that Subway was here. And while there are some results that aren't related to this, what I found by digging in was a Reddit thread that was all about obtaining ice cream at Subway. Apparently, some locations have ice cream, some don't, but there was a strong call to have Ben & Jerry's ice cream pints be sold at Subway locations. Those are the types of nuggets that you can get from these types of panels. So once again, I am going to move back to the instant search results for Kylie Cosmetics. And there's one last panel on this page that I want to show you. It's just the sample post. So you only see 3 here, but don't worry, there are plenty more posts to be seen just by clicking that view more. When you're scanning these, of course, if you see that there's missing text, click on it. That's indicated by that ellipsis. That way you can get the full breadth of the text, and then clearly you can view it on that native platform. If when you're scanning this, you notice that some of the results are not relevant to your brand, that's when I want you to refine your topic. Remember that there's the edit button at the very top. So let's go through how you might refine a topic. I'm just going to click the edit button for Kylie Cosmetics and give you a quick walkthrough of what's here. You start by choosing the keywords, including or excluding about your brand, and then you get into the filters such as source or other noise reduction filters. On the right side, we've listed the major terms that are mentioned alongside your brand so that you can gauge if you are getting accurate content. You can hover over any one of these terms. Sometimes the terms may not be familiar. It could be a person. I know who Kylie Jenner is, but just to show you what we do, you can quickly see a sample post from that particular term to understand whether it is really related to your brand or not. If it's not related, you can simply click that exclude phrase and notice how we're re-rendering that preview so that you'll now know if the new results will be relevant. If you keep scrolling down, that's where you see your sample post. So I'm going to bring Kylie Jenner back to the mix because this is her cosmetics company. So now let's get into some details on how you might create a query for a particular brand. If you have a unique name like Kylie Cosmetics or Rival IQ, this may be quite simple. Of course, putting your brand name and any common variations. If somebody is frequently misspelling your brand name, put that in here too. Put any handles that you utilize along with your name with a hashtag. And if you've branded a hashtag, also include that in your primary terms. I keep emphasizing putting that in your primary terms because this is how we assign sentiment. One thing that NetBase Quid does really well is they don't just look at the overall sentiment of a post, they look at what people are saying about your primary terms. One example is if I say, I think America should ban ice cream, it's making people fat, it rots people's teeth. That sounds very negative. But then I put at the very end, but I love the taste of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. That's positive to Ben & Jerry's. Yes, the majority of the post is negative, but for Ben & Jerry's, my primary term, it's positive. And so that's why I want you to put your brand name in those primary terms, in the primary term box. Okay, so great if you have a unique brand name, it's pretty simple. But if you don't, let's take a look at how you might handle that. We're gonna look at Rare Beauty. So I don't know of another corporation called Rare Beauty, but you can use that term in everyday speech. So what I did was I excluded what I thought were some common phrases that could be used when somebody uses the term rare beauty. Was a rare beauty, or that gem is a rare beauty. So I simply excluded those two terms. If you have a really difficult brand name, Think Amazon, Target, Fidelity. You could end up with a very long list of exclusionary terms. It is best to use those exclusionary terms to narrow down your topic. You are going to be tempted, and sometimes you may need to just use include terms. So if I were going to use include terms with rare beauty, I would use things like makeup, lip. Of course, I would use Selena Gomez's name herself, and so many variations of that. And that will provide you extremely relevant results, but you're going to be missing a lot. If somebody just said, I love Rare Beauty, they're clearly talking about Rare Beauty, the beauty company, but you're not going to catch that because when you use those include posts, the post must not only include the name, the word in the primary term box, it must also include one of the words below. So that's why I recommend, if possible, if you have an ambiguous brand, to use the exclusionary terms. I know you're not going to remember all of this, but so we do have some search tips, some quick ones to tell you about what we allow within those input boxes, and then a link to view more. You can also always reach out to us by using the support button to chat with us. So let's come back to our Kylie Cosmetics. We've got our primary terms set. There are a few other options. So you can change your language. And then below, you really start to limit your results. So you can see here, you're able to turn on or off specific sources. I recommend before you start applying some of these filters to always review your results first. You can always come back and limit them. Below there, we have some noise reduction filters, and it's so tempting to go ahead and click these early on. But once again, I recommend you leave them on until you've had a chance to really review your results. Unless you're doing a presentation and then perhaps you want to turn some off to avoid any awkward moments. For the exclude authors, the most common author to exclude is yourself. So you can see Kylie Cosmetics is listed right here. I can simply hover over that and exclude. Or if I know my own handle, I can just simply type it in. I always recommend people exclude themselves because you already know what you're saying about your brand, and that shouldn't be factored into the sentiment. Another great example of excluding these high volume authors was when I did a search for a university in Texas. It was a rather large campus, and there was a Twitter account that a couple times a day would tweet about the weather specific to their campus. Highly relevant to my query, but not the type of post I wanted to evaluate. So I could simply see that by viewing the sample post and then hit exclude author. The same thing goes for domains. Again, I recommend reviewing the results before you apply these limiting factors. Okay, now you have a query exactly as you want it. You can apply those changes and return to your instant results dashboard, or you can save it as a topic. When you save something as a topic, you get a couple benefits. The first, you're able to quickly come back to that topic with all of your settings. You also get to compare your topic to other brands that you've saved. And then finally, we alert you if there are any spikes in conversation. So I'm going to call this Kylie 2 because I actually already have a Kylie topic, but I just wanted to show you quickly that when you save a topic, the dashboard looks the same. The only difference is now I can quickly search within my topic to look for, if I am a brand manager for lip, I meant to do lip star for the wildcard, I can narrow down the results just to my topic. So the last thing is if you build a topic, we do hide that edit button just so that it's not easy for somebody other than yourself to make changes for what you've created. So we have our topics created. Let's take a look at some of those benefits I talked about. First, I'm going to remove this Kylie 2 because I just did that as an example. And now you can see I have 3 beauty brands here, all created by celebrities. I can really quickly see why Kylie Cosmetics does get a significant amount of post volume per month. She only has 7% of the share of voice, which is clearly dominated by Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty company. You can also get a concept of how she performs regarding the net sentiment of her brand, coming in at bottom place for 59% compared to 82% and 61%. So that's one of the major benefits of saving your topic, is being able to compare yourself to those competitors. The other benefit that our customers love is we alert you when there is a spike in volume and a spike in the post volume for your topic. So I don't have I didn't have alerts set up for Kylie Cosmetics, but of course Taylor Swift has a lot of talk about her right now, being that she's on tour. So here is a spike that occurred on June 20th, where the post volume went up 131%. It's great that we identify the post volume, but we also make it easier for you to identify the why. We picked out some of the notable terms based upon volume and showed you how that volume for that specific term changed over the last 2 weeks. You can see Singapore, about her tour, really took off, and that's because she recently announced that she would be performing in Singapore. Looking at some of her older posts, you can actually follow where she has been through this. This was in New Jersey, and then another one at MetLife Stadium. And so that's really the power of saving that topic. So I know we are running out of time, and Maria did send me one question that I do hope to address, and it's, when will additional sources be available? You may have noticed when you reviewed this that we do not have Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. We will work on layering in those additional sources over time, but right now we've really focused on providing you information and insights at a low cost and in a very simple manner so everyone can have the benefit of social listening. If those sources are something that you need right away, contact us and we will put you in touch with NetBase Quid, because they do have those sources available in their platform. If you can wait, just keep an eye out for our product updates, as we will continue to improve and add on to our social listening tools. So I know we are just about out of time, and I do have another question about the date. So right now it is limited to 30 days. We are looking at updating that. The first update will allow you to choose a specific date within that 30-day time span, but much later down the road, you will be able to create topics with additional history beyond the 30 days. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. If you do have any other questions, please use the support button to chat with us. Our customer success team will be happy to do their best to answer your questions. And I hope you found our social listening tools very useful. Thank you.